Mumbai will always have a demand because I have not heard anybody saying I want to go and settle in a tier 2, tier 3 city. The tier 2, tier 3 city guys always wants to move into Mumbai के नहीं यार Mumbai में एक घर होना चाहिए. That's a typical Mumbaiya भाषा saying कि Mumbai में एक घर चाहिए. Good for Mumbai city is because how many small buildings will come up, the parking issues will go up, the green spaces will reduce. So always a cluster redevelopment is definitely preferred over a normal standalone development. What's important is who your developer is, see their track record of delivery, see their arbitration and litigation records. That's the most important factor than the person is, because if the developer is not clean, does not have enough money to construct your property, what's the point of that person? It's going to be a vague number floating in the sky that, oh, I wish I got 120% additional area. Right. Where in 110 additional area, probably you would have got your house.
Hi, a very good afternoon. Today with me here I have Mr. Manan Shah, who's MD of MICL, and he's been very active. You would see him in a lot of interviews, and it's a great opportunity for us to have him here and interview and ask him a few questions and pick his brains. Very good afternoon, Manan. Could we, understand what is your vision of Mumbai? A lot of redevelopment is happening, a lot of new infrastructure projects are coming up. Where do you see Mumbai going in the next 15 years?
So thank you for having me over here. See, Mumbai is on a complete shift, and I'm seeing a complete transformation happening. Now there are two things to it. Number one, it's good definitely that you're seeing a drastic transformation happening. Number two, there's always upside and downside for both the verticals, right? Now, when I see the development happening so fast, people are picking up left, right, and center. I'm seeing societies going for redevelopments. There is a transition happening for environment, infrastructure, mindset of people. Now, I am not seeing that easily customers' mindsets being changing. So, I'll give you one small point like, even if there's a good development done, handed over, people are not wanting to shed money out of their pockets to keep it maintained. So even if you're doing the top of the things, you're giving the best of the amenities, facilities, housekeeping, security, concierge services, people don't want to pay that money, but they will pay the same money going to a Starbucks. Okay. Or they'll go to a five-star hotel or take a membership maybe at one of these Wellingtons and Bay Clubs of the world. Right. So what's more important is in the next 15 years, simultaneously you should have a transformation of your mindset as well. Right. And in terms of Mumbai, yes, definitely it's happening for a greater cause. Everything is going great. Infrastructure support from the government would be highly anticipated. Right. In fact, we're already seeing that happening with the coastal road. We're seeing that happening with metro. We're seeing that happening with a lot of new bridges connecting the eastern to western and so on. So what's most important factor right now is that people should absorb this, and this growth should be sustained as well. Because an ever-growing supply will not have an ever-growing demand. It's the most important factor that, so like developers should also see it and be a little cautious, especially when they're bidding any kind of redevelopment projects. And yes, definitely next 15 years, India is on a leap where the growth is good. People have made a lot of money, and they're putting a lot of it in stock market, gold, and other mutual funds, and some of these other saving form assets. And with that, I'm seeing India definitely coming in the top 10 city, Mumbai specifically, if I'm talking about, in the world. It's just that developers should be a visionary person, because if you go on making the stereotypical brick, block, and mortar, you're not going to make the city look beautiful. So it's going to be best of both, I would say, where infrastructure would be supported to Mumbai. Coastal roads are coming in, water taxis hopefully in the future, which would help. And this would change the dynamics of a person traveling from South Bombay to Warsaw. Right. So that would also help in the overall development coming up.
Do you think the coastal areas would see a better development as compared to the inlands of the suburbs, central suburbs? Any area that you think will really benefit out of the whole redevelopment and the new infrastructure that is coming?
See, when I'm seeing Mumbai 5 years back, there used to be CRZ. Now CRZ is gone. So Bandra is developing drastically. Bandra also has one coastal road connectivity coming up, which then goes to Juhu, Versova, and so on. So what's most important is, yes, coastal roads will see a drastic transformation, the coastal zones. Inland will always have larger developments because on the sea you always see standalone buildings and not a gated community. But it's not actually that good for Mumbai city is because how many small buildings will come up, the parking issues will go up, the green spaces will reduce. So always a cluster redevelopment is definitely preferred over a normal standalone development. But in talking about the transformational shift, yes, you will definitely see coastal areas developing, and you'll see these tall skyscrapers. Like if you go to Manhattan today, on the ocean you're seeing a 100-story tower. So something similar is going to come up because FSI is available, but because of the restrictions of CRZ norms, you could not develop it.
So we'll see maybe even a better Manhattan out here in Mumbai. The face of Mumbai will completely change. The skyline will change.
It purely depends on how my fellow developer friends are going to be thinking and envisioning their product. But why not? You can definitely be far better because, see, Manhattan developed over the past 200 years.
Right.
But there was a vision behind, and that's why Manhattan became Manhattan. If you see Dubai, it's a very beautifully planned city. Mumbai developed eventually without any planning per se, and that's why sometimes we see this bottlenecks of roads and bridges coming up. But now is the time when everything is going under redevelopment. I would urge people to have some unity, join hands with your fellow society mates, and develop larger parcels so that you can come out with better garden spaces, and you can make the city look more beautiful and be more efficient, I would say.
So you're saying rather than doing standalone redevelopments, a cluster redevelopment is something that is going to free up more spaces around the city.
Definitely. Like I'm doing one cluster redevelopment at Kupur.
Okay.
I convinced 10 buildings standalone to come in together, and today we have a 3.2-acre plot.
Wow.
Now we are going to grow almost 1,000 trees and plants across the development, 1 acre of landscape space. Now these things are highly impossible when you do a standalone building. Also, more than 1,000 parking slots is what we've got in the complex. So you will not see any cars of the residents parked on the main road, automatically freeing up the traffic space, having good vehicular movement happening, and it's a planned micro city.
Right.
So that's what's more important, I would say.
Right. So, picking up from what you had said about societies redeveloping, any advice that you would want to give society members who are looking to redevelop? Because we see the turnout has been great for this event, right? Because there's so much intent among these members. Any advice as a developer that you would give to these people who are looking to redevelop?
So, in fact, it's a human tendency, and I've always seen what happens is, even in your schooling days, what's the most important factor is percentage. स्कूल के मार्कशीट में कितने परसेंट आए, बोर्ड्स में कितने परसेंटेज आए, तो रीडेवलपमेंट में एडिशनल एरिया के कितने परसेंटेज आए. बट आई वुड से परसेंटेज इवेंचुअली लाइक like all of us are doing our jobs well. How many times in a day have you been asked the percentage? Probably never. Right? So what's important is who your developer is, see their track record of delivery, see their arbitration and litigation records. That's the most important factor than the person is, because if the developer is not clean, does not have enough money to construct your property, what's the point of that person? It's going to be a vague number floating in the sky that, oh, I wish I got 120% additional area. Where in 110 additional area, probably you would have got your house. A lot of time, in fact, I even educate people, like for example, you've got a 1,000 square feet house, right? And a lot of times societies are confused between 4-5%. Right? So that's, if it's 5%, that's nearly 50 square feet.
That's hardly
right? Now 50 square feet will basically fit your shoe rack or your wardrobe. I understand for smaller houses, the 50 square feet is also very, very important. But again, if you're getting tempted by that 50 square feet and the developer is not giving you good quality, what's the point of it? So my only advice is, please do a thorough check. Don't just get tempted and mesmerized by these fancy offers that are coming. And because sometimes these fancy offers are just to woo you, so that a competitor who's already having a product in the vicinity and does not want to spoil the market by having another competition, he will want you to give you something which will never be developed. So basically, you are stuck by seeing that number. You will not sign the DA. And when the actual time comes to develop, the developer will back out and he will say, कि नहीं मुझसे तो डेवलप होगा नहीं, now my this percentage is come down to this, करना है तो करो, and तब तक उससे अपना माल बेच दिया है. So I would always say, please do a thorough check on your developer, whoever it might be, whatever the size and scale might be, whatever the location might be, please do a thorough check.
Right. Are you also trying to say that you should prefer a developer who's done redevelopment in the vicinity, who's like an expert in the vicinity, or are you saying we should look at the broad aspect of it, maybe the financial viability or the developer's track record? What exactly would your advice be?
So I'll give you a real life example. When we were coming out with a project in South Bombay, it's a redevelopment. That time, people used to ask me, "यार आपने South Bombay में कोई building नहीं बनाया?"
Okay.
And my only answer for them used to be, "Where is South Bombay? Is it on Mars?
Right.
It's in Mumbai, right?"
Right.
So what's the development shift? Whether I'm making buildings in Juhu, Villeparle, BKC, Pali Hill, or Ghatkopar, or anywhere, what's the difference?
Right.
It's just the micro market. So I am not a guy who believes in micro market playing because we've got spread across all the locations in the city. So I would always say your financial stability,
Okay.
your thought process, your vision behind the building, the height, the ventilations, the way you've planned your bedrooms, the vastu, that's something which is more important than being a micro market player.
Right.
Of course, micro market player helps you brand and achieve projects better.
Right.
But always I've been seeing societies asking that आपने Bandra में कोई project नहीं बनाया है,
Okay. That's a
right?
question that
And
you
you're
get.
wanting to redevelop in Bandra. So but I'm just saying, how does it matter? If
Right.
I'm not built in Bandra, if you see my portfolio,
Projects
that's what
across.
matters. And
Right.
just see how many deliveries we've done. So
Right.
I would always urge the societies, don't go in micro detailing. And if you really want to do micro detailing in terms of कि in the micro market has a developer built over here, तो आप tender निकाल ही क्यों रहे हो?
True.
Just go to that developer which you feel is right for you. Just give him the project, finish and done.
True. 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 Now, one question that I have for you is, as you know, when a project comes to MICL Group, what do you look at? Is there any particular requirement that MICL Group has to look at a society to redevelop it?
See, one thing, whenever we pick up any project, what's important is whether I'll be able to transform that development into something which is iconic, something that will be spoken about for the next 25 years. And am I able to transform their vision in terms of they envision that I'm going to get a good quality air, good quality light, a good bedroom, good bathroom, etc. Right? Am I able to genuinely transform these things to beyond their expectations?
Okay.
That's the first most important criteria which is always set for us. Because if I'm not able to transform beyond your expectations, you will never be loyal to me. You would always be hunting and comparing me to some other local developer. So I always strive that if there's not enough juice in the product, we don't take it.
So there's no particular requirement that a society should be a particular size of a plot where you could maybe make a township or something out of it instead of a standalone. Do you have any preference as such?
Of course, the larger cluster redevelopments are always preferred because definitely it's a large scale project. Your margins are definitely better. You've been able to develop something which is more iconic, more of green spaces and parking, etc. Like I said, that's personally my preference, and definitely it's healthier for the city because the lesser number of standalone buildings, the better number of green spaces, better number of planned micro markets within the city, which will help the ecological environment breathe better.
Just one last question that I want to ask you. With so much supply that will come in the next 5-10 years, with so much redevelopment happening, do you think the demand will be able to catch up somewhere with the supply that will be coming?
See, when Mumbai was developing 50 years back, and when Mumbai from Bombay became Mumbai, or in fact when the birth of Bombay came in,
Right.
nobody had ever thought that so much demand would be there.
True.
Even now, yes, definitely the oversupply is coming in. What I see is a lot of options getting multiplied compared to what existing options are there. And that is something which will take a hit for the conversion process.
Okay.
Conversions will happen, but it will be slightly slower.
Okay.
But Mumbai is the #1 aspiration city of our country.
Okay.
So I always see the demand growing.
Okay.
Yes, sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's fast. Like COVID, it was extremely fast.
Right.
Now it's slightly slowed down because that spring action is already completed.
Right.
So yes, Mumbai will always have a demand because I have not heard anybody saying I want to go and settle in a tier 2, tier 3 city. The tier 2, tier 3 city guys always wants to move into Mumbai. Ke nahi yaar, Mumbai mein ek ghar hona chahiye. That's a typical Bombaya Bhasha saying. Ke Mumbai mein ek ghar chahiye. Not even Bombay, like.
Yeah.
So I always see that aspiration living. Now, Markets will say whether it's going to be slow or fast, but I am sure that the demand would be there.
So you're saying the turnaround time will be a little longer. Instead of now what we see is 2 to 3 months for a decision. This may go to 6 months, but the demand is going to stay.
Because of the options being available in the market. So of course, anybody would want to pick and choose. It's a lifetime of a decision. So you definitely would want to pick the best suiting your family. So I think yes, the process will take slightly more time.
Right. Just one last question that I have for you. There are some people who are saying the prices will come down. Right. This is the most controversial question on the internet. That now we are waiting because the prices will come down. Do you think the prices will come down?
Honestly, if you have priced your product right and if you've done your math when you're doing the redevelopment bid correctly, the prices for you will never come down because you are not overquoting. The prices for people who are overquoting like 2 lakh rupees on a square foot, 1,75,000 on a square foot, these prices I am absolutely sure will not sustain, will come down because these prices were never absorbed in the city. It's an aspirational vibe which is created in the micro market that Worli is at 2 lakh rupees on a square foot, but there is a zero transaction more or less happened till date which we have known, like so far for a single apartment.
Right.
So these prices might be probably transacted one-off, but these prices will come down. But certain prices, like for example, Joe is 65,000 rupees on carpet. When have you ever heard even 10 years back it's coming down? The prices will stabilize for sure. But prices coming down, which are way too aspirational, that definitely will come down. But certain things which is, like 1 lakh rupees for an ocean viewing apartment, I had heard it when I was in my college days also.
Okay.
And even now it's 1 lakh rupees. So that prices will never go down.
Done. Thank you so much for your insights, Manan. It was really nice talking to you, and all the insights that you shared really valuable.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.